I'm Gary Nickerson.
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
And this is Outside My Window. The Nova Scotia Community College and the Digby Pines Golf Resort and Spa have partnered to offer programs that are designed to foster the hospitality business and the culinary management education right on site. The business hospitality program starts in September, while the 2-year culinary management program is slated to be launched soon. To give us all the details, we're joined by Mary Thompson, principal of the NSCC Yarmouth and Shelburne campuses. Mary, it's great to have you back on our podcast.
Well, thank you, Gary. Thank you, Quinn, for inviting me.
Always something new with the NSCC.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how did this partnership with the Digby Pines come about, and how unique is this?
It's very unique. The partnership came as discussions started with our president and the owners, our dean of creative industries and business, looked at an opportunity. As you know, the Digby Pines is now gone year-round as a resort, and we're so lucky to have that. I mean, think about, for Western Nova Scotia, now we have this world-class resort that's now running year-round. And so they're building their business. And as we all know, labor market needs are everywhere. And so in discussions, it came up of how about offering our NSCC business and hospitality programs from the Pines. So what a unique opportunity for people to learn right on site, to learn in a world-class resort. It offers opportunities that will be unique, not just to our area, but certainly to year-round resort and convention opportunities.
We don't talk much about it, but the Digby Learning Center is also involved in this. Can you talk about that partnership there?
Sure. Well, the Digby Learning Center is part of my campuses. So I have 2 campuses, the Shelburne campus and Burridge, and my Digby Learning Center is a community site. We have programs that go there for NSCC, and we also have community partnerships. So groups like Turning the Tides partner with us and are co-located. So our Digby Learning Center will be the NSCC local connection to the Digby Pines. While most of the program will take place at the Pines, the students will also be able to access programming at the Digby Learning Center. We have an innovation space called the Cube at the Digby site as well as my Shelburne and Burridge sites. And so opportunities for students to explore different pieces of entrepreneurship and really look at innovative technologies as well. So and staff from my Digby site will be involved with the Pines program. So even though the program in itself will be taught fully at the Pines, our students will be really well connected.
The curriculum for the course, is that something that you've kind of cobbled together as you go, or is this something that's standard?
This is a program. It's a core program that's offered under the Nova Scotia Community College. It's business and hospitality, and it's one that's featured. We have 5 different academic schools, and this program comes from the creative industries and business program for NSCC. While the curriculum will be the same as what's offered, we're also able to partner and do some creative things. So, it's very much offered in terms of what are some of the opportunities. And students will, throughout their program, get to visit wineries. They'll get to visit a variety of different types of operations so that they can learn about the hospitality programming within the province. One of the things that's really unique about this program is the partnership at the Digby Pines Resort. One of the main partners is Bear River First Nations, and so an opportunity for our students to really work with colleagues at Bear River First Nations and learn about Indigenous tourism and some of the wonderful work that's happening there. We also have, a lot of craft breweries. We have wineries. So the program lends itself to what's happening in the area. And with any program, but particularly with the hospitality programs, you really want to make sure that students understand, if you want, the breadth of what that industry offers.
Now, what about local industry as well? I mean, certainly it's not the first time that you've kind of partnered with local industry to come up with programs that'll feed a job market. I remember the Register.com situation back in the early aughts. But what is it that drew you to this sort of partnership given the situation?
Years ago, we used to do a hospitality management program out of Burridge, and unfortunately, numbers dwindled in that. But it's always been something that has been in the minds of a lot of how can we do that. So when this opportunity presented itself, it presented itself in a way that not only is this a huge growth area for our province in the industry, but what a unique learning environment to be able to actually have a program right at a working resort that not just goes seasonally, it goes year round. And the management at the Pines, not only have they been wonderful to work with, but they're really innovative and they're looking at how do they expand their business. So, what a great opportunity for students. They have a spa there, and so my aesthetic students from Burridge connect with the spa there. So just such great opportunities. But this area we depend on tourism, and being able to have a world-class resort, being able to have a training program here that can support the industry is really important.
So what's the portability like for programs that are offered at NSCC? If I take a course here as opposed to Akerley, as opposed to Ontario or whichever, is it nigh on the same sort of curriculum all the way along? Can I kind of go place to place? And
within NSCC, so for example, if you started the business hospitality program at Akerley for a year and wanted to transfer down, yes, you could do that. Province to province, curriculums would be different, certainly what Niagara College would offer, but we offer what's called a prior learning assessment or recognition of prior learning. So in some courses, they translate hour to hour. So for example, if I've taken a 60-hour course in human resource management and hospitality, that may transfer. Others, you can get credit based on what the outcomes are. So we look at all options. The other thing that we have is we have a number of articulation agreements with universities. So for example, you can do a 2-year program at NSCC in some areas and then get credit for that, a 2 and 2 at universities. So, gone are the days when people looked and said, I'm doing one thing and one thing only. Our experience is people come back for education as they need it. They layer it, they ladder it. So for example, in our business program, students can take a 2-year business diploma, and then they can go to some of the universities in the Maritimes and get credit for that, and then another 2 years does their degree. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. We also have a lot of university students that'll come to us because they've done a university degree, but they want to come back now and do more of a career-based training.
so when we look at the job market and how to best recruit into your programs to fulfill that job market, how much of a long game are you playing on some of that to try to anticipate what the job market might be looking for?
It is always a long game. You're looking immediate, but you're also looking at, okay, where are we going as a province? So understanding what different employers are doing. So for example, looking at the Digby Pines, knowing that they've committed to do a year-round. They've got plans to expand. That's really exciting. We know that, looking at what YASTA's doing, looking at what other tourism groups in the area, we know, that there's expanded and that we're building on things. So to answer your question, it's always, you're looking at the long game, but then all of a sudden something can change. You mentioned register.com before years ago. 6 months before that wasn't even on the radar. And all of a sudden, one morning at 7:30 in the morning, I got a call from the local development authority saying, we've got this opportunity, can you send somebody to New York? So we also know that those things happen as well. So it's looking at the long game, working with your partners. I mean, for here, working with groups like the Western Wren, working with the other development authorities, working with privates. I mean, one of the things that we do is when we're out talking to industry is, what's your growth plan? Where are you going? So for example, we work a lot with groups like AF Terrio in the trades, and we know their needs because they let us know. So it's really making those connections. But Yeah, if it was if it were an exact science, it would be really easy. It's not, but it's also having a good variety of programs so that it also allows people to make those choices, because not everybody wants to go into a certain area. Certainly larger campuses like in the Halifax area, they can offer everything. We can't. I mean, it would be wonderful if we could, but we have a good mix of programs in this region so that we have, we're represented in all 5 academic schools. We also have lots of opportunities for folks that are needing to upgrade before they come into programs as well. And that's really important. Making sure that people have a pathway in. Not everybody has had the opportunity to complete high school. Not everybody has science credits if they want to go into a healthcare course, or they've left one job and now they want to retrain, and so they need to go a different direction. I mean, I think that's one of the neat things about NSCC is the fact that if you look at our students, they're not all out of high school. In fact, we have a wide range of ages, and people come back for a lot of different reasons. One of the things that I say when I do our orientation speech is I ask people, who's here just out of high school? And you get your hands that are raised. Then I ask how many people have been out of school for a little while, and you get a lot of hands that are raised. So we have a real mix of students, and as job markets change, people look for different opportunities.
When it comes to agility in being able to roll with it, similar to the registrar.com example. Is NSC well poised to be able to do that, as opposed to somebody like, a more mainstream university?
It's hard for me to speak on the point of the university. I mean, we're poised to be able to do that. We've demonstrated over the years that we've been able to do it, but it's always a lot of moving parts. It's making sure that you have the curriculum that's needed. If it's a regulatory program you need to make sure that you've got all those regulations and the regulatory body. But yeah, I think that we've been able to respond quite well when we've been asked, and certainly, trying to work with industry. Can you do better? Always. I mean, you can always do something better, faster, and smarter. That's what I tell my entrepreneurship students. There's always going to be somebody better, faster, and smarter. So we have to think about ways to make sure that we keep that agility, but at the same time, making sure that quality is really important. The last thing you want to do is offer something that doesn't meet industry standard. You're not doing anybody any favors.
This really is going to be a model. I mean, it's not in class, it's not in school. Can you talk about what that's going to mean to the students, that they're going to be, on the job, if you will, learning in a restaurant and in a large kitchen in a facility like Digby Pines?
Gary, you raise a really good point. So our classroom will be it's actually one of the salons that's in the convention center. That's where our classroom will be. But there will be times when our students, when they're doing a placement, whether they're doing it in housekeeping, whether they're doing it in grounds, whether they're doing it on the front desk, they're actually going to be there. So, I mean, in many of our NSCC programs, our students go out and do work placements. The beauty of this is that as our instructor is teaching service, for example, in a restaurant, you might go to Churchill's restaurant at the Pines and see a sign that says Digby Pines and Burridge students are, serving today. Okay, so it's an opportunity to bring those work-related experiences on a regular basis, as opposed to a set time when a student would go out. We are incredibly grateful. We have wonderful work placements with all of our programs. This offers a really unique piece. So, for example, if the instructor today is teaching table service, now we've got a restaurant where you can go. You're not just teaching it in a classroom lab type environment. Now you're going into a restaurant where, the expectation is that you do it right the first time because the customers depend on it. So great opportunities. With the different types of functions that will go on, there will be sometimes maybe our students will be helping with those, but it also it lends itself to, we know that post-secondary education is expensive, and so it lends itself to students might be able to pick up part-time jobs or casual opportunities for events at the Pines as well. And so our partners, they've been incredibly creative. So this really is a model that I can see growing.
When you're planning the number of students, I mean, the NSCC has always been very inclusive and welcoming as a learning institution. And of course, the Bear River First Nation plays an integral part in this as a major player in the purchase of the Digby Pines from the province. So how do you sort of look at the metrics on those numbers? We have X number of students. Do you allocate certain spaces to hold in case you have, African Nova Scotian or Mi'kmaq person interested in this?
Right now, it's been, because it's an introductory, it's been everybody, who qualifies for the program. In some programs, we have, I know there have been designated seats in other areas. We've never really had to worry about that because we've been able to welcome those people that are qualified to come in. Our hope is that it is a program that continues to really appeal to everyone, but particularly folks from our equity deserving groups. I mean, that's really, really important. I mean, when you think about the great investment that Bear River First Nation has made, what an opportunity for students from the community to be able to take this program. Just as they have the opportunity to take many programs, and at NSCC we continue to work really hard on our. In fact, it's in our strategic plan called Idea Squared, and it's basically inclusion and diversity, equity, and anti-racism, and really making sure that we're not just speaking the words, that we really are looking at how do we make sure that our classrooms create that equity experience for all. And, it's something that we work really hard. I think that the Digby site is a great opportunity for this. We've been involved with the community, the JACPA, Acaciaville, and Conway Betterment Society for a number of years. As you may know, they are building a community center. And it came out of a settlement that they had with the Digby School Board a number of years ago around issues of racism. The group has been just absolutely phenomenal to work with because they see this community center as an inclusive center for all. It's been a long time in the making, and a lot of people have really worked hard. But we've been so pleased because we signed an MOU with the group early on to help support them and work with them and that kind of thing. So right now at our Digby site, the African Affairs Office for the area, their program administrator is housed with us until the center gets built. So for us, it's really important because our communities are becoming much more diverse, and so our student population needs to reflect that. And you can't do that unless people want to come to you.
When it comes to the trades, people think blue collar, hammers, nails, welding, and the like. But how much has technology crept into a lot of those blue collar trades over the years? And certainly we're a much more technologically advanced society than when I was going through business computer programming back in the day, which is many years ago. Does it lend itself well into the trades? I mean, are you able to, again, back to agility, mold the programming in order to suit it?
If you think about carpentry, while we do a little blueprint reading, most of it is done with CAD now. So you're using more of a technology. We do a lot of work in terms of communications in the trades because many of the quotes that people are doing are written quotes. You're bidding on jobs. You're doing that kind of work. The trades themselves have really changed in terms of some of the demands. I mean, even take the fishery, for example. I mean, if you go onto a fishing boat as a captain and you look at the controls at hand, you better know technology. In fact, we with our fisheries programs that are based out of Shelburne, we have right now we're working on hoping to eventually get a Class A bridge at the campus for simulation, but we have computers that are portable simulators. And so as an instructor, I can sit there and I can program different conditions, and then Gary has, if he's the student, he's on the computer and he's adjusting his work based on those conditions. And simulation is one really important way to be able to hone your skills. For example, as a welder.
Safely.
Yes. Yeah. That's one of the things. And the other thing is too, from a welding point of view, welding simulators are great. We've used them. In fact, I've tried the welding simulator, and I can tell you welding was never going to be my trade. It was, but it allows you to see, if it's an interest, but also hone your skills around precision. We know that materials are expensive, and so if you can use some of those simulated pieces. In nursing, we use a lot of nursing simulations so that a PN student or a CCA student is learning how to do vital signs. They're learning how to do assessments on a mannequin that you can program. So I don't think there's any program where technology hasn't been a part of it. Just even using phones. If you're out on a job site and you're taking pictures and you're sending them back. I mean, a number of years ago, we had work done on our front porch at our house, and we were out in BC at the time. And the people that were doing the work for us, every day at the end of the day, he would capture pictures and send them back to us so that we could see the progress. That's part and parcel now of what people are doing. When you're designing things, you're using a lot of the technology that is there. So, people have to know how to use it. It's more than just, and people sometimes say blue collar as it's a bad thing. It's not. It's an important piece of what we do. Right now, we're just finishing an 8-week course in construction fundamentals that is geared to get people out in the industry, and their learning curve is straight up. It's fast and furious, but it's designed to get people out. But technology's huge.
The fact that this program is coming together as quickly as it has with so much support, including the Digby Pines, obviously, really underscores the importance of the hospitality industry to this province, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And if you think about hospitality in its broader sense, it's experiential tourism, it is business. You look at, in the last 10 years, wineries, breweries, some of the craft breweries that have started up, and then the ancillary industries that start up. So, for example, rentals. People might do bike rentals or, opportunities, those kind of opportunities. So tourism really, it's not just somebody going somewhere to visit. It's accommodations, it's service, it's all these pieces.
Mary, could this model, this program, lead to similar off-site programs in other?
Without saying a definitive yes, Gary, I think it's a model that absolutely could. In a lot of areas, there are opportunities, to be able to do these things. In the past, we've used this type of a model with other things. A number of years ago, when a number of new nursing homes were being built, we actually did continuing care programs in the community and it was tied to the opening of that nursing home. So I think that being creative and really looking at how do you meet that labor market, this is a great model. And, as an industry or as an employer, I think it's something that could really catch on.
What are you seeing down the road? What are you planning for in the coming years when it comes to programming and course offers?
Well, let's start with the Pines. So right now we're in our first year with the business hospitality. So our hope is, and our agreement is for roughly 10 years with the Pines. Our hope is, as Gary mentioned before, we're hoping that our culinary program comes into place fall of 2024. Again, we'll know by the end of August if that's real or if we have to push it out a year, because we want to make sure that you want to make sure from a student experience that you've got everything in place. So we see that, over the next 4 to 5 years, really expanding the culinary program and the business hospitality program. Moving forward, we've just added an additional practical nursing program. Well, we've actually added 2 now. So originally here in Yarmouth, the practical nursing program would go for 2 years, and then you do a new intake. This fall, we'll have a first and a second year program running. And then in January, I have another first year program starting. So again, absolutely to base it on the need there. I see moving forward, areas, and again, they may not all be what we call core programs, which are those traditional programs that would go from kind of September to May. But there's a huge opportunity for us to expand continuing education, what are called micro-credentials. And micro-credentials are, it's a big thing right across Canada, and they're opportunities for upskilling. So a micro-credential might be if you've got somebody who has a office administration program, and we might be able to do something around entrepreneurship where you take a few credits and it would be a micro-credential that way. A micro-credential, right now we are part of a number of programs across Canada called C2R2, and it's basically it's funded programs that different institutions are offering to upskill people. So this construction trades fundamentals that I mentioned, that's part of that. The tuition for that has been free. In Shelburne this year, we offered a solar program for solar installers. So those are some of the things. Looking at that landscape, certainly greening. Climate change and green energy, huge pieces that we need to think about in the coming years. With trying to get off of oil and looking at a lot of different things. EVs for cars, it's something that not every mechanic who you train is going to know the EVs are very different. So those kind of pieces that are going to allow us and allow people to keep up with those green technologies, that kind of thing. Certainly in the IT world, we know that cybersecurity, huge issue in terms of how we keep up with that. In the transportation, in trades and transportation. Construction trades are so important, but also looking at things like truck and transport. We have a large marine fleet here, so marine technology, that kind of thing. Our boat builders are huge. We actually worked with the Nova Scotia boat builders about a year ago to do a composites program that AF Terrio actually hosted for us. And it allowed people to learn how to use the composite fiberglassing and go into that industry, because that's a huge industry. There's no boat shop that doesn't have about a 2-year wait. So it's really to say these are the programs that we're going to have. We know that there's some. We know that healthcare is continuing, but there are every time there is something new, we need to watch the trends. And climate change, greening energy is huge. Wellness and aging, another important piece. We're actually in Shelburne going to be launching a program that is it's a little different. It's one that's been out at Middleton campus for a while, and we're just getting ready to expand it, called CORA, which is the Center for Rural Aging and Health. And it's basically to create a hub at Shelburne campus for people 55 and up for active living. And it's not a day program, it's nothing like that. It's simply an opportunity to bring everything from cybersecurity to line dancing or whatever, again to that. So it's really keeping up. And for me and for my principal colleagues, working with the school. Like, it's the community work. Like, we have to take our leads from what's happening in the community. We're very, very lucky here because we have great connections with industry. We have great connections with our associations and with our municipalities and our towns. I mean, they're the folks that help us to shape where we need to go. And sometimes you'll get a call and saying, we're talking to this new industry. Could you come in and talk about what you might be able to do? And that's exciting. Sometimes something happens, sometimes it doesn't, but always being ready to be part of that discussion. I mean, for us, it's, community and community college means a great deal, and it's really being part of what the community needs.
I know that healthcare obviously is the hot button topic, and there's a lot of discussion around the shortage of qualified individuals within healthcare. But people might have it in their heads, oh, just add more seats. You can't just add seats, and you really wouldn't want to add seats for the sake of adding seats. You have to maintain that quality of product delivery.
Getting quality instructors. So, for example, for us, adding the 2 new sections of practical nursing, it was deliberate. It was working with our government partners. They're the ones that have the handle on where the jobs are. I mean, you're not going to put a program somewhere where there's no jobs. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. And then making sure that we can get qualified faculty in that. So there's a lot of pieces that go into it, and just about any area, certainly healthcare, has been a real need. And I think that, whether it's long-term care, whether it's community care, whether it's acute care, the needs have been so great.
Is there an ideal class size when it comes to NSCC as a whole, or is it really course by course?
It's really course by course. Any more, like right now, and again, we're a bit hamstrung because of size of classrooms too, but probably our largest class starting out would be our practical nursing program. Usually starts at 34 or so, but we've got classes that are much smaller. I mean, our Pines program will start with a much smaller number because it's only really been since March or April since we've been recruiting. So, but it will build. But at the same time, you want to have a class size that allows students good interaction. So, a class size where you have too few students don't get that experience. A class that's too large, you need to make sure that you can provide those options as well. So it's really a balance. And each of our programs, when we set targets based on the type of program. So, for example, programs that require clinicals, the governing bodies that we work with have numbers of how many students you can have out with a preceptor or with a mentor. So it's very important that we make sure that, if, for example, we're sending CCA students into a long-term care facility, there's one person to so many students. So that's another factor as well.
I'm curious, when the word was first released about these programs, did you get calls from young people saying, or not necessarily young people saying, well, this is fantastic, I'd like to try that out, give me more information? What was that reaction like?
We got lots of calls. In fact, I did a piece on For Global one morning, and just from the newscast we did on Global, we got a lot of calls, and some are just interest calls. Some people just want to know more, but that's the beauty of something like this. Not everybody is going to hear it and go, oh, I want to sign up. But the more people that hear it, they pass the word on. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone somewhere and somebody said, oh gosh, I heard about this program. Can you tell me more? And it's more just from an interest point of view, but that's how the word gets out.
There's been a really huge increase in the popularity of these television programs with chefs and the cook-offs and bringing in younger chefs. I'm just curious, do you think that is leading to maybe a few more young people getting interested in that at all?
Gary, I don't know. I don't know. I think it might be mixed because sometimes, depending on the chef and the show, they're not very nice.
There's a few of those.
But I think that there's a lot of opportunity, and people are seeing more what those opportunities are. It's not just if I'm going to take a culinary program or a tourism program, I mean, I might take a tourism program, but I want to run my own business. So I might take a tourism program because I want to work in accommodations, or I want to work in food and beverage. I want to be an event planner. So the thing is, it offers so many different opportunities. But you're right, certainly media coverage and letting people know how many opportunities are out there. When I'm going to date myself now, when I graduated from high school, there weren't a whole lot of there were opportunities out there, but there weren't a lot, there weren't a big selection in that. Now, I mean, the sky is the limit, and it's really about helping people to see where those opportunities are, what you can do with those opportunities, because you may start out in something and move through a number of different areas, but really getting a chance to match what you enjoy doing and what you're good at, and enjoying it, because that's really important. Nobody wants to go into something where they hate it.
So if anybody wants more information, what's the best way for them to reach out?
The best way would be they can go to the www.nscc.ca, click on Burridge Campus, or type in on the search bar Digby Pines Business Hospitality Program, or call the campus. You can call us locally here in Yarmouth, or any campus, and they'll be able to give you information.
Mary, it's always great to talk to you. We enjoy our conversation so much, and we thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you both. Love coming and talking with you.
I'm Gary Nickerson.
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
And this has been Outside My Window.